Don't know why it's not gone live. There we
I'm
go,
live.
everyone. We are back. Did you miss us? It's been a long, long time. It is a day that, quite frankly, I didn't think would ever happen again. I thought this part of my life was over and done with. I thought this chapter was well and truly closed. But we are here, we are back, and we are ready and raring to go. First of all, apologies about the delay. We were meant to be going live at 8 o'clock. It was quite ambitious of both of us, to be honest, of saying, let's go at 8 o'clock, because we've both got children. We both, the family life does take over, and the evenings of trying to get people into bed is a nightmare. But we are here. But yeah, it just feels weird, doesn't it? It feels weird doing this again. It's good. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm really excited and ready to go, but it feels really weird doing this. But first of all, Adam, how the hell are you? Let's have a bit of a catch up first before we get into the good?
Testing. Yeah, good. Like you say, it feels odd to come back to this after we locked it away. But what I can't help think, like, people just keep asking us when we're going to bring it back. So
yes,
that was sort of the little Coddenham shirt keeps coming into focus behind me.
yeah,
people kept asking us when we're going to bring it back, right? So we had some appetite from people. But I think we've probably been accelerated into thinking, what can we do by everything that's happened with the BBC, in terms of their sort of local coverage being minimized and sort of shut down as such. And there is a bit of a gap in the market. I know different people are doing different things locally, so like, let's not discount what people are doing for all the different clubs. And I think coverage on Twitter, I had a look earlier on, has got so much better. You see so many goal videos and stuff that you didn't see before, thanks largely VO. But also mainly because there's lots of keen people out there that are photographing and videoing their local clubs. But I think the time is right to bring everybody together. And to have a bit of fun with this again. And the main thing for me is that we do make it fun this time and like not take things too seriously.
Yeah, I think I kind of echo those thoughts. Really, when you sort of see like the East Anglian Daily Times were the first ones to kind of drop out, their coverage of non-league is just completely, to drop. Obviously, our show stopped, which we had to. We had no choice behind it. There were circumstances behind your job that meant that you had to be very careful with what you could and couldn't say, which is fair enough. Other circumstances kind of took over both of our lives. The show had to kind of finish. And I think really, like you said, the BBC and their cutback of local programs, which on a completely unrelated topic is just disgraceful in itself, but we'll cover that a completely another day. It just felt like now was the right time. And we'd been talking about it for, must be about 6 months or so. We've been talking about it for quite a while. About
it's gone from like joking about it, casually, to attending a game with an actual plan. Like, when we come out the other side of the game, are we actually going to do this or not? I'm making a call on it. And while we didn't like give each other the nod at that point, I think it was quite clear that we could have another go at it. And as soon as we've announced everything, what I want to say thank you to everyone for is the support, like on the Twitter account that James has set up and everything for this. Like, that Twitter account will become more established, and we hope it's going to become more of a hub of activity that we can then discuss week on week. And that's almost what we'll base, as long as Twitter doesn't end up melting, like that will end up being the catalyst for like everything as we go, because let's face it, most football discussions happen on Twitter or Facebook. So
I think the thing that we learned from last time is that the way that we did things last time was very structured. We have a topic, we discuss it, we move on. We have a topic, we discuss it, and then it was like, oh, let's get into the results, and let's talk about the fixtures that are coming up. And then it was like an hour and a half later, and I'm absolutely fucking exhausted and need to go to bed. Whereas I think this time around, as I said in my video that I put out this afternoon, we want it to be far more interactive. We want to get your thoughts and opinions rather than just what comes into the chat. We want to get people's opinions out there. So if you are on X, it just sounds bizarre, but if you are, terrible. Follow at Suffolk NLS. And we will be posting out different questions so we can get your thoughts on anything that we're going to be talking about in the upcoming shows. But yeah, we were hoping to bring this back ideally during the summer. And then, unfortunately, I then got made redundant about May, June sort of time. So that's why there has been a delay until this point. But as Adam said, there's been so much happening in non-league. We just had to get this show.
It's been a fiery start to this season, hasn't it? With like, if you look back, the timeline has been full,
hasn't it? Just
a couple of weeks ago, we were really going day by day, and I felt like the integrity of local football was starting to get quite diminished by
it was taking a hammering
sort of going on.
Yeah.
A lot of clubs have folded. I mean, I've seen from step 4 all the way downwards. And the problem that I've got with that is that when one club goes, the majority of comments that follow is they won't be the last either. So I don't think that we've seen the last of it if those reports have been right. And if we can try and put a bit of a positive light on what people are doing locally and stuff like that, hopefully we can keep the passion around the local game, which amongst supporters, if I'm honest, I feel is higher than it probably was when we finished this last time. I feel like more and more people are turning to non-league football because it's the affordable option for people.
Yeah, definitely. But I'll tell you what, whilst we have been waiting to go live this evening, we have had a lot of support already in the chat tonight, which is great. Keep your comments coming in. Craig, good to see you, my man. We've got Carl here. Shem's in the building as well. Oh, we're doing well, mate. We're doing well. Classic. It's just all of his names.
I feel like this is like a complete flashback. It's like I've never been away.
It's like we've gone back to COVID.
I love the fact that all the regulars are literally straight back in the chat.
Yeah, exactly that. Forget Oasis. This is a reunion that people wanted. Good to have you back. No worries, Jack. Good to see you. I hope you are all doing well. Ben is here. Sharon as well. Hello, Sharon. Hope you're doing well. Classic. Addy Ellis. Just seeing all these names. It's just
I forgot the pronunciation game that we get to play with you, James.
Oh God, yeah. Jesus Christ. Ben's here as well. Yeah, Bill and I've been called worse, to be fair, so I'll take Bill and Ben. Matthew, the legends are back. Thanks, mate. Ben, great to have you back. Do you know what? I'm so excited, and I'm glad that we have done this because it does feel like the time is right, because it kind of very similar to why we started the show last time, is that we have been talking about non-league football constantly. We are messaging each other every single day with stuff that is going on. And it just felt, like I said, it just felt right. Alex, good to have you in the show, my mate. Obviously, I've seen you quite a few times since we've kind of finished the show, but I hope you're doing well. Let's not talk about the Norwich. No, we're not going to talk.
Good point there, though, Matthew. That was one of our topics of discussion when bringing this back. Is that do we take this all the way up to just football in East Anglia now, and touch on everything that happens in East Anglia to be a bit more inclusive of people that follow Ipswich and Norwich quite religiously as well? I know people dip in and out of it, so that's something that we will look at. Oh, this is excellent already.
Let me think, because I genuinely can't remember. Is it Wenniston?
That's what I would have said.
Yeah, that is right, isn't it?
We'll wait for the comments to confirm.
We'll go with it. We will go with it. Let's get into the show then. We've had a bit of chit chat. We've had a little bit of a catch up on where we've been, what we've been up to, etc. Let's get into the nitty gritty. And I think really there's kind of one place we really can get going and get started with the show again, because this is when, for me, we get messages on a regular basis. Bring the shows back. Bring the shows back. Bring the shows back. constantly. But when the Norwich United stuff started kicking off was when it really peaked for me. I got at least 4 or 5 messages each day whilst all of that stuff was going on. People were commenting on the old YouTube videos, bring the show back, bring the show back. You've got to be talking about it. Do a one-off special, do a one-off special. And I think this is what really kind of made us go, okay, right, we're gonna really give this a go. But
the stuff that people want to talk about. That was the thing. It made us realise that there's still things that people cared about and wanted to talk about weekly.
Yeah, definitely. It's such a weird one because I don't really know where to kind of begin with the Norwich United thing, because I'm very conscious of what I do and don't say because of the fact that legal action has been threatened. So I'm going to be very cautious with this. There have been alleged allegations on both sides of the argument. There were rumours of discontent, let's say, before all of this kicked off, where certain people were starting to leave the club. And then it all kind of kicked off on Twitter with accusations being made on both sides of the argument. That is currently under investigation with the FA. There are massive safeguarding issues that are being looked into. So there's that to look at. That's down to the FA to sort all of that kind of bits out. The thing that I'm really wanting to get into the nitty-gritty of is the lack of communication from the club itself. Now, just to clarify, Adam, you've reached out to them, haven't you? You have asked them to provide some sort of context or clarify some sort of statement, etc.
I'm going to be very open with what I've actually asked for. I asked for the chairman to come on and have a chat with people to address the fact of what's the status of the club. Obviously a lot of credit was given to the young lads that did step up and fulfill the fixture, or the couple of fixtures that were needing to be fulfilled. So I wanted to know about what the future was for them. I know that the under 23s, I think it is, are still competing, but they're not having the best of seasons. They're bottom of their respective league. And just wanted to know what the direction of the club was going forward, and if we could see a Norwich United first team returning in the near future, really, I think is what I'd be keen to know. And I think there's a lot of fans out there that are keen to know it as well. I noticed many clubs have jumped on the opportunity of offering free passes to grounds for anyone that was a Norwich United season ticket holder.
Which is great.
I think that's great. What I did find funny was some comments at the weekend that I saw that were like, they're still Norwich United supporters. They're not just going to suddenly become a Durham fan overnight. There is still a club at Norwich United.
Yeah,
and that can get lost amongst the noise, but the reason why it's so unclear is that none of those fans actually know if there is a Norwich United that will exist anymore.
Because every time they post something on social media, there is always comments underneath saying, "Are you going to address it? Are you going to let us know what's going on? Are you actually going to communicate?" And I think the way they put out their original statement was, as far as we are concerned, the matter is closed. It's not closed. It's not. You have not clarified anything at all. And the fact that it took the furlough none to make that statement to say that the first team is no longer there. And it's been what, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks since all of that kind of happened. I can't remember the exact timeline of it, but nothing. Like, it just baffles. I don't understand it. I don't understand how you can do that to people. Not only the people who have bought the season ticket, but also the volunteers at the football club as well. Like, they must know what's going on to some degree and are not able to talk about it. I don't know. But just the complete lack of communication, it just doesn't sit well with me. It really, really doesn't sit well with me.
The Suffolk Non League are not normally the best at communicating either. So for them just to come out, make a statement, and everyone react off the back of that was quite. I felt quite surprised by it. You don't normally see those communications come out. But for me, the key thing I want to know is what's happening in the league, what happens to the relegation space, what happens to Norwich United next year. And I think without us spending tons of time on this, it's one to track over the coming weeks.
Yeah, definitely. We'll continue to reach out to Norwich United. After the show, we will reach out to the Furlough Nun as well. We'll see if we can get any sort of clarity from them. It might be something that they've possibly looked towards the end of the season. I don't know. I really, really don't know. But we're going to reach out to as many people as we possibly can to get some clarity, because that's ultimately all people want. We just want to know what is happening and where does that leave things moving forward. Because as you quite rightly said, there's still an under-23s team. There's still an under-18s team. I presume the youth setup is still there as well. You've still got the fundamentals of a football club. It's just that the first team, that's where we need some sort of clarity. But we will reach out. We will make sure, we will try and get what we can. Obviously, appreciate we kind of done things. We kind of rushed into coming back, onto the show, and we have reached out to people, but obviously that we have to appreciate that everyone's busy, everyone has lives, etc. So we will wait and see whether or not we can find anything out on that. The next thing, really, is what's going on at Ipswich Wanderers. Now that really, really shocked me. I've got a little ticker going across the bottom here, Adam.
Yeah.
Was it the right decision getting rid of James and Mark from the football club? Was it harsh? And how do you think Glenn Driver is going to fare? I'm going to pass this one over to you. First of all, the decision, because again, we don't know the full context of it. We only know what's happening in terms of an actual statement that's come out. Where do you sit on it?
Too early to make the decision that they made. Therefore, appears very harsh. Glenn Driver has been out of the game for a while for personal reasons. How will he fare? I don't think somebody like that just forgets what football is. I think he'll know what he needs to do in order to get the team playing in the way that he wants them to play. This is someone that was very successful, like Leiston, etc. I can't, he's already made moves. He's got Blakey back in the team, who he's worked with extensively at Leiston for his period of success. So I think that given resources, he will reshape that team. Will it be harsh on some of those other players that might have been on that journey or that have been there so far this season and been given it a go? The managers may not be the last casualty of this transition. But for me, giving two guys who have just got you back-to-back promotions, among other things, it's just a handful of games at the highest level the club has operated at. Nah, that's a gross decision for me. I didn't like it.
I think my biggest bugbear with it was not that the decision was made, because again, there are things that happen behind closed doors.
It's football as well, isn't it?
You don't know. We don't know the conversations that have happened to get to this point. We can only speculate. But it was how quickly Glenn was appointed. I think that's what rubbed people up the wrong way online. And I think we saw the situation on Twitter and, other social media platforms where people were upset about it and were very confused with the timing of it. I think that's probably the biggest thing that people have had.
They've just won, hadn't they? They'd won the night before.
Yeah, that was in the cup, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think it was, yeah. So really, I don't know. It's a difficult one, because these kind of decisions, we see them all the time at any level of football, where someone just goes, do you know what? I don't think this is going to be working out. I'm going to make a decision now because I want to salvage something of the season. I think this is in the best interest to make this decision. You might not necessarily like it. It reminds me very much, and this is completely like left field, but it just reminds me of when Southampton sacked Nigel Atkins. Do you remember many, many years ago? He got them promoted to the Prem, which just about keeping them in the league, and then they sacked him, and everyone was like, "Whoa, what the hell did you do that for?"
It was knee jerk, doesn't it?
Yeah, they bought in Pochettino, and I think, obviously things have worked out very well up until recently. Have worked out quite nicely for them in that move. So it kind of feels a little bit like that. But I think it was the fact that less than, I think it was 24 hours later, the decision had made to get rid of him after the game, and then you've already got somebody in.
Like in the past, Steve has said to us, like, I mean, I've heard him say he'd like the club to get as high as step 2, I think I've heard him say in the past. So, like, step 3 is definitely on his roadmap. Like, I'm not sure if I realised that it was of that much urgency, that being bottom or near enough after a few games would mean that those that got you to where you are now are shown the door. But who knows? Like, knowing what I know about step 4, that Ipswich Wanderers team are not going to go winning step 4. There are some very, very good established teams in that, but I'm sure that they've shown before they've got it in them to cause an upset. Like, let's not forget that at the very start of the season last year, Ipswich Wanderers didn't start step 5 all that well, and then they absolutely stormed it right at the end. So who knows?
Yeah, definitely. Let's get some of your thoughts on this up on the screen here. Ben says, was it harsh? Yes, but both were fundamentally important in getting them promoted. Glenn won't forget how to run a team, but how will it go? Nobody knows. I think
that's a good summary. I think
that's a fair summary. I think if you are going to make this decision, in terms of people who know Suffolk football and are capable of doing a job at that level, despite the fact that he's been out of the game for, however many months it has been, there's not many bigger names than Glenn Driver. Let's be honest. Like, I don't know Glenn personally. I've never met him. I've never had I've maybe a couple of interactions with him on Twitter from time to time. He's not somebody that I have personally met, but his reputation speaks for itself, and the respect that he has amongst people in the game kind of really says it all. So if you are going to make this decision, whichever side of the fence you land on, whether or not you think it's fair or not fair, I think he's going to do a good job. It just depends on what personnel he can get in. Can he work with what is already there? Because some people might not, we know what football's like at this level. Some people might go, do you know what? I'm not playing for you. For you, I'm going to go. You just
it's quite a statement though as well. Like, he's made it quite clear online that he's only coming back when time is right for him and when he's ready and when everything's 100%. Right. So, like, this is the project for him.
Yes.
So
definitely.
But I just can't. Whoever ends up getting Bucks and Goldie, because I'm sure they'll go together to the next project. I think is getting 2 very, very capable members of staff to take their club forward. I think they'll do well where they go next.
That's it. Dan has said, I think Wanderers got a little bit nervy and thought that might have been the best thing, but it wasn't. But good luck to Driver. Matthews put, I don't understand why they changed management of Ipswich Wanderers as they were doing well. I think, they've done well in past seasons. They've made a not so good start in the league. Obviously, they've lost 3 out of 3. I think it was at the time.
They didn't add that much over summer, I don't think. And their squad doesn't look that different to what finished last season.
No, true. But there is the argument to say that squad was good enough for the previous level and was bought with step 3 in mind. So
step 4 in mind, yeah.
Yeah, step 4 rather in mind, yeah. So, there is that. Unrelated. Good to see you back. Please don't bring back that wheel. Don't worry. Well,
I'd forgotten all about it till then. So maybe.
Do you know what? So had I. All of these things are just coming back. It's brilliant.
I think we're some way off prize draws yet, Dan. I mean, it shows how well developed the previous show was, that we were doing giveaways and all sorts. So
yeah, Jesus, yeah. you forget the cost of all of these things when you have to start paying for this software again. You're like, oh Christ!
Yeah, just removing the picture of a duck from the top corner. Pay.
Yes. Yeah.
Just to get rid of a duck.
Yeah, dear me. Ben, if they had done it in December and a loss of 7 on the spin, let's say, then I'd sort of understand. But it is definitely Adkins' fight. I don't know why Nigel Adkins just came into my head, but it did. But yeah, good to see you agree with me rather. Bucks and Goldie won't be short of offers either. Maybe join Witten. Oh, jeez. Witten, yeah, bloody hell! What the fuck? What's happened to them? I get the.
I've been corrected this week on Twitter around Witten, and I deleted my post. Apparently, they've got a very, very young team that they're playing with a very minimal budget.
Yeah.
Got to win matches to stay up, I guess, but they seem infused with what they're doing and what they're building. I think this week they played in the Cup. I think. Need to check that. I'm pretty sure they played in the Cup. I think they played Wisbeach or something. Yeah, it's tough in it at any level if you're going with young players and building from scratch and starting all over again. Football these days is even harder if you haven't got a budget to throw at anything because everyone's quite mercenary.
Although we were talking about this off air earlier today. About the money situation in non-league football. We're saving it for another day, but it's drying up in a lot of places, let's say. But like I said, we'll cover that.
The money conversation's a big one that I think we can have at some point. But
God, you could have an entire show just dedicated just purely to money. But we'll definitely do that another day. Matthew, look at hashtag in the Isthmian Premier. Didn't think they would do as well, but they are. That's very true. Very true.
They've got a good money system in place, though.
Clever money system.
Their revenue system is what will allow them to propel themselves through the leagues.
Definitely. Dan, good to see you, mate. Dan. I'm glad you've joined in with tonight's show. It's been a while. Hope you're doing well, mate. It depends on what the target is for this season. Only one relegation place since Thurrock pulled out. Chairman maybe being too proactive rather than reactive, which is a good point. Actually, I completely forgot about East Thurrock leaving that division as well.
I don't know what the relegation rules are between the leagues. I'm a little bit out of the loop because they used to do this thing, didn't they, where you do like a playoff?
Oh God, yeah.
So would that spot be an auto, or would it be a playoff spot? Because even then, it makes it seem even more proactive than reactive. There's a few teams though that one relegation spot gives a bit of a pass to, and I'm not going to discount Stowe in that. Like Stowe have got a major rebuild on their hands.
Yeah, haven't they?
So to know that they can guarantee safety at that level for long, no, guarantee is the wrong word, but they've potentially got a higher probability of safety is quite a relief when it comes to things like marketing income and stuff like that when you're playing at a slightly better level.
Definitely.
But yeah, that's a really good point, Dan.
Yeah, definitely. Gary, Bucks and Goldie will always be legends and deserved better treatment. I think that was the general consensus online.
Gary, I think, attends quite a lot of Wanderers games as well. So
yes. Yeah. Like I said, I think that was a general consensus when you looked at the comments that were made online. I think a lot of people said that the would be a decision they regret, but we can only judge by what happens in the future. Obviously, I mean, from our perspective, we want to see as many Suffolk sides doing as well as possible at any level of the game. So we wish Glenn all the best. I hope he does well. He gets the rebuilding job that he wants and the project and the commitment that that he wants from it. And we'll see. We'll see how it goes on that one. Anything else you want to wrap up on that one before we move on to the big SIL conversation, Adam?
I think the only thing we'll touch on that we didn't say is there was I don't get the genuineness behind the appointment of Glenn. Like, it was shown that employment was mutually terminated, and then all of a sudden a lot of interviews happened the next day, and by the end of the next day, Glenn was appointed out of the blue, like he'd never spoken to the club before. I personally, I can't see how that wasn't a conversation that didn't happen beforehand. And for me, that quick turnaround between people, I think that's the bit that irks me with it all. Like, if that conversation has happened before and there's been a bit of build up, that's where I feel a bit gutted, and like you hate to think that sort of behaviour goes on when people have got you so far, but it's football.
It is. It certainly is. Ben, apologies for ignorance. Did you go to work for when? We did. God, again, you could have an entire podcast based on what happened there, but yeah,
that was an interesting period of time.
Yeah, wasn't it? Wasn't it just?
There's so much potential at that club.
There is.
And it's very, very untapped, and they have got such a great local community. But getting people to buy into the fact that they need to pay £5 or £6 to come across the road from the bar into the ground is quite difficult. You know, the funerals have better attendances than their games that they have down there.
Sadly, that is true. And better atmosphere as well. Upper bucks and goals. Dear me. So let's move on very quickly to the big conversation around what is happening in the SIL. And the reason why we're bringing this up is because unfortunately we've seen another couple of clubs in Bilderston and Bromford Road Old Boys drop out of the SIL recently. It seems to be a topic at the moment that whenever you talk to somebody, and you alluded to this earlier on, they won't be the last. That's those are the comments I hear all the time. Gutted to see him go. They won't be the last. And there is something happening within football at that level of the game that is really, really struggling at the moment. And I think what confuses me more than anything is when you look north of the border, the Anglian Com from the outside, and without being too much into it, appears to be doing quite well and appears to be thriving.
We need to get under the surface of the Anglian Com, but I think that I from what I see, it's doing well. One of the issues I'd like to understand between the two is, do they have the same refereeing issues as what we have in Suffolk?
Yeah.
Because getting an official now is everyone's problem. Like, and there's many reports that, you know, you don't get assistant referees now in the SIL. There just isn't enough people to go around.
Because that's when I first started covering the SIL, which was many years ago now. In the top division, there was always a referee and 2 assistants at every game I went to, without fail. Always a referee, 2 assistants. You went down the leagues, then you start to see just the 1 official. Now it's being reported that this season you are lucky if you can get 2 officials to help with a referee, which then starts bringing into question the people who are running the lines and potential.
You're not alluding to cheating, are you?
I'm not saying anything. I need a disclaimer across the bottom at the moment. Thoughts and opinions do not express those of the show and all that kind of rubbish. But yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one. We asked for people's thoughts and opinions over on Twitter. So I'm going to get the tweet up in just a moment.
You've done some graphics.
No.
Oh goodness me! I got right excited.
Jesus Christ! I didn't have that much time. I've got 3 kids now. I haven't got that much time to be doing graphics. But yeah, I did reach out over on Twitter to find out what people had to say. So the first one came in from Neil. He said it would be interesting to see how many clubs have unfortunately had to fold, and how many new clubs have started up over the past 3 or 4 years. There have been a lot of clubs, sadly dropping out at the moment. The actual Backton, a Twitter account, replied, lots of reasons have already been mentioned. Ipswich doing well is definitely a lure. Would you agree with that? Because I mean, even people I work with who I know play at the level of football that we're talking about have all got season tickets at Ipswich at the moment. It has become a big factor, hasn't it?
Well, never in my life have I known Ipswich to sell out of season tickets. But it's not just that. Ipswich seem to have created this weird buzz where they sell out every away end and are almost proud of that.
Yes.
So it's not just the home games anymore where you lose people, because everyone seems to want to do home and away constantly. So yeah, I think that's a big thing. But good times are back, aren't they? Football's circular. Yeah. You've only got to lose 5 or 6 matches and people won't want to bother travelling 7 hours on a coach anymore to sort of, I don't know, some cold, wet, boring northern town to watch football. It does come and go. It just depends on the feel-good factor all the time.
Yeah, definitely. We've had, again, they follow up saying players not having the same level of commitment as they once did is a killer. Lack of help and volunteers, referee pool reducing, the list goes on. Steve,
the problem with commitment is that there's just so much more to do these days. And everything is now. Like, you can get everything instantly. So people tend to fill their time up. Whereas, like, go back 20, 30 years, your town didn't have 6 or 7 gyms in it where you could go and keep fit and do stuff. Do you know what I mean? There's just always something somewhere. Whereas people used to do football for their keep fit, physicality and everything. And, you know, if you're good at it, you played at a higher level. But there's other things you can do now other than play football.
Yeah. That's it. Steve put on Twitter saying there's not a lot of loyalty nowadays from players. It's crazy that some players expect to pay for nothing or even expect to be paid at this level. Ipswich being a huge factor, plus work commitments as well.
Yeah.
I remember a time when there used to be 8 divisions plus the intermediate A and B. Work is definitely up there as well. David Collins replies, and this one got quite a few likes as well. All of the above, but key one for me is how much work now falls on key committee members. And when they want to step away, there is a distinct lack of individuals who want to take over the running of a club, which is hard work and is only becoming harder. That is a great point, because it's not just the players you can get available on a Saturday. It's the whole bunch of stuff that kind of goes on off the pitch that doesn't really get talked about, but you know, that is a big factor.
Handing those jobs over is a major task as well. Like, if someone's been in, they've been looking after the finances at the club for the last 20 years. You can't just up and leave and say, see you later. Like, these are big jobs to take on. And the flip side of that is I think people realise how big the jobs are and therefore don't want to step in and take responsibility for them. And therefore you've just got an immediate failing of different places, which is a real shame.
Yeah.
It's a hard one to solve, though.
Do you think that, because I'm just spitballing here, but do you think that kind of comes down to a lack of continuity where someone is looking after a certain area and will not let anybody else touch that area? Because that does seem to be a bit of a thing in non-league football, that when you're in a club, you're in, but it's very hard to crack getting inside a football club, and it's regardless of the level. It happens at all levels.
I think it's an old school business view, though, where like you have somebody in a role and they are responsible for one thing. Like, you cook the dinners, you do the finances, you know, you clean the toilets. When you come into a club, you need multi-skilled individuals. You need people that can clean the toilets, cook the dinners, and look after the finances. And you need 3 of those people so that you've all got the ability to dynamically fill in for each other. So if one plate gets dropped, there's someone there that can always catch it.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
There's that need to be able to upskill people constantly. But people have then got to have the appetite to learn more. And there's a whole culture shift to get people to that place. And it's going to take a long time. And with all due respect to those that do it already, they're probably already feeling like they've got enough on their plates trying to keep running what they've got. So to then turn around and say to them, "Oh, you know how you look after the bar? That's awesome, but I need you to learn how to mow the pitch."
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of people are already doing both those jobs, but it's just an example of how people are like, I already give 15 hours a week down here. Don't have another 15.
Yeah. Irv has put on here player unavailability due to the lure of Portman Rose, lack of interest from youngsters in playing the game, a lack of volunteers to help run sides, lack of referees, several now season ticket holders at Ipswich, and teams paying players at SIL level, which
we were never used to be allowed to talk about that one, did we? That was always a bit of a taboo subject, wasn't it? Like,
it was
SIL
always
players getting paid.
We know it happens, but we don't talk about it.
It doesn't really happen, does it?
No. It's a myth. It's a myth, is what it is. Barry, again, this one got quite a few comments. Quite a few likes over on Twitter. Player availability is not what it used to be back in the 90s and the noughties, where it would be the same 13 in the squad week in, week out. It's people at uni, watching football, working. Most places are now a 24/7 business, shopping with the missus, or they're getting their nails done.
You have all these like comical situations where teams call a game off because they can't field a team, and then someone checks and they've got 55 players registered.
Yes. Yeah.
Like that shouldn't be funny, but what's going on that you can't draft a team from 55 players?
Oh, there was one I saw a couple of weeks back, not in our area, but was it Dulwich Hamlet? They cancelled a game and they've got like 50 odd players on their books, and people were saying it's because they've got 3 players away on international duty. They don't want to play the game, so they just called it off and just basically said we don't have enough players. It's a higher level, but
these things,
but it does happen. Jamie King over on Twitter. It's a mixture of things. It's the rising cost of running a football club. As players expect the earth nowadays, they want a new kit, they want tracksuits, but they won't put their hand in the pocket when it comes to paying signing on fees, subs, bookings, and sendings offs. It's a great point. It got the most likes over on Twitter, but
I can't help but feel like that encapsulates a lot. I mean, there's so many things that go into like the cost of running a football club that you don't even like really talk about. And I know like grants cover some things off, but it can be as simple as the cost of maintaining the pitch itself to the cost of the goalposts to maintaining the fence. We never talk about these like little things, but it can be a bill like that comes out of the blue that is taking these clubs down. And that was the case recently, wasn't it? With Buildstone.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was a bill out of the blue that came from some innocuous circumstance out of the little hut that they use, for want of a better phrase. It makes it sound very derogatory, but like essentially £100 a week all the way up till Christmas. I mean, where are you generating that from? You're going to start selling 100 programs a week for Buildstone?
Yeah. There was. I know there was a big argument between the football club and the people who run the facility in the end.
It's just daft, isn't it?
Sadly, neither could come to an agreement. But if you're having to fork out those kind of costs, you just can't do it at this level.
I don't get how people are so clueless as to think that, oh yeah, if I drop a bill of £100 a week or whatever it is, it wasn't a month, so yeah, £100 a week on this team, yeah, they're definitely going to be able to find that. Like, where do they think that's going to come from?
Absolutely no idea, mate. Absolutely no idea. Dean over on Twitter put, it's a shambles, and not just losing teams. There is nowhere near enough officials either. So many times I watch senior football with a ref and maybe one assistant, sometimes none. Clubs fold as no one wishes to manage in a league that has no real funding. It's take from the FA, which is very, very interesting. On there as well.
Let's get some of the game, aren't they, FA? For the good of the game.
Yeah, that's it. Let's get some of your thoughts on the screen here. Lots of you have been putting stuff into the live chat, which is great to see. COD Army, a combination of everything, but Ipswich doing well hasn't helped. Players would rather watch Town than commit to a club. Definitely have seen an increase in the past 18 months on that without a shadow of a doubt. And it comes back to what you said earlier. They're doing well. People are now interested. People that, again, there's a load of people that I know that used to go down to watch the Stowmarket Town games who are now going back to watch.
Stow's attendances have got battered, like, as a fallout of this.
Yeah.
Like, they don't get anywhere near what they were getting in maybe in their first season of Step 4. But,
yeah,
it's not the same anymore.
I think Ipswich just need to get relegated basically to solve this problem. Ben, Cambridgeshire County League is the same. So it's sad for the SAL that other leagues are doing better. SAL was so great and highly spoken of. James Redmond, Anglicom Prem games always seem to have 3 officials. Below that, lucky to get more than 1 based on the games I've been to. Well, that was basically what I used to go and watch. The top division had 3. Everything else had 1 plus your 2 subs that would run the line, which, fair enough. But sadly,
you just feel like the game's got more integrity when it's got 3 actual officials, don't you?
Oh God, doesn't it? Yeah.
And then it's a bit more special for the players that are taking part in it as well, rather than someone literally waving a bib.
Yeah, definitely. Dan, a lot of referees have become Ipswich season ticket holders and now only referee every other week, which again is
ditch your season ticket, get rid of it. You're needed.
Dan, if there isn't any assistance for the senior league, means that they are saving on match day fees, only paying the ref instead of paying over £100 for match officials. I suppose there is that point to consider as well. Shem, Gresham's is a great example of the demise of local football. 6 teams up there one season and now nothing. Council pitches over demand and pricey. The cost of the pitches again is another big factor.
There's a huge thing going on at the minute, isn't there, about the cost of 3G pitches? Like we live in one of those areas in the middle of Suffolk, which is highly deprived of 3G or 4G or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I'm getting confused between an AstroTurf pitch and an antenna for my phone. Like basically plastic pitches. We don't have many of them around here, and the ones that are about are booked permanently. Yes. And they're not cheap. And they are the solution to people being able to train and have access to sports facilities, but still getting priced out.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Not cheap.
Because, this is completely off topic. We used to play 5-a-side, didn't we? Up at Stowmarket Leisure Centre many years ago.
I don't want to have too many flashbacks to that.
Yeah, God. Yeah, good times. But yeah, we used to play down there every Wednesday, Thursday. I can't remember what it was now. I recently inquired about it because I thought maybe I can get some of the, get
the band back together.
Yeah, exactly that.
Oh, my days, you didn't tell me about this.
No, I know. The reason why I didn't tell you is because the cost was ridiculous.
How much do they want for that for an hour?
I'll tell you off air. But yeah, it was half the price added on top of what we used to pay. And
the thing is, the surface is essentially 80 grit sandpaper that's been pissed on in the corners.
True. That's true. Paul, Muzzy, good to see you, mate. I hope you're doing well. Cost of living has a huge part to play at SIL. Longer days and earning potential is far better than playing football. Therefore, commitment is an issue. Yeah, that is a great point because, again, the lads that I work with who I know play for certain teams around here, they pick and choose whether or not they want to play and turn up based on how many hours they've been working during the week. They'll get to like a Thursday or a Friday and they'll just go, no, I'm exhausted. I can't be bothered. Next week, they'll be like, yeah, I might turn up to training.
It's no good to those that are trying to run the teams, though, is it?
No, it's not. But unfortunately, I
get it. I do get it.
That's the sad reality of it. You got some of these boys that, starting at 6 o'clock in the morning, finishing at whatever time. Do they really want to be going off to football training afterwards? It's tough.
Especially if those teams that we're talking about it's you turn up because you enjoy it, not because you're paid.
Yeah.
Right. And if there's in current climate, like Muzzy says there, like if it's like income over time, you're more than likely to take income.
Sadly with today, you have to, don't you? You have to, just to be able to keep up with what you're meant to be paying. It's ridiculous.
The mortgage payment's gone up £400. Don't worry about that. I want to play football.
Yeah.
Down the local park.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cod Army again has said on here, yeah, cost of training facilities is a killer as well. All places booked up. So I've had to book goals at £85 an hour.
Yeah, that's mental, that.
Jesus.
I'm surprised no one said that they've been priced out of football by the amount of cards that Irv gives them every time he refs. I've heard some right old stories lately. Loves a card.
Oh dear me, brilliant. Yeah, I mean, it's a sad state, and I think there's no real solution to the problem, is there? Because there's a number of, like, the amount of points that people have said, it doesn't really kind of stem from one issue. There's so many factors on there: Ipswich, costs, facilities, so many different
you
parts.
You could write a decent list from the number of things that people got back to us with. It wasn't the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Ipswich is definitely a reoccurring theme. But yeah, what can you expect?
No, that's it. It's such a shame, because I love going to watch SIO football. I still get a kick out of going to watch it. Some of the matches are brilliant. The entertainment is absolutely fantastic for what you get, for what value for money. Well, you don't even have to pay, which is brilliant. I really love the SIL, and everyone knows my feelings on it. So it's just such a shame to see that. That's how this level of the game has gone. It really, really is. Yeah, that's fair. So we've kind of covered a lot on tonight's show, which has been great. It's been good to get back into the swing of things. A couple of things I do want to mention just before we kind of wrap things up for tonight, because we're going to have to keep this to an hour for tonight's show. So sorry about that, but we'll be live again very, very soon to do another one of these. I've really enjoyed it.
Just want to get
go on,
comfy with things to start with, and then in 2 weeks' time we'll be back into it again. Then 2 weeks after that, we plan to hit the every week grind like before. So we've got a few things to sort out. We don't want a little countdown every time we come on air. We want a little bit of a video and stuff. But someone deleted what we had before, so we've got to start again.
Definitely. I just want to share my screen in a moment, and I hope everyone can see this. I'm going to try and zoom in on this one. You can tell how long it's been since I've been doing this. Wisbech St Mary put out a statement a couple of days ago, and I don't know how many people have seen this. I'm putting the link for the GoFundMe in the chat right now. I don't even know if you can see what's currently on my screen at the moment, but the statement reads out that last weekend the club had the devastating news that our under-7s manager's son Hunter had been rushed into hospital and diagnosed with cancer at the age of 6 years old. Hunter is also a player for our under-7 team. He has had his operation and is now starting 6 months of intensive treatment, and the club are trying to raise enough money to help out, help with the cost of that, and just give the family a little bit of support. So as I said, I've put a link for the GoFundMe in there. If you can spare anything, that would be massively appreciated. Click on it. Doesn't matter how much it is. I'm sure the club and the family will really, really appreciate.
Really sad story, that one. And
yeah, I mean,
having children of that sort of age, that's
can't imagine what the parents are going through.
No, horrendous.
If I start thinking about it, I will tear up, because
not a good one, is it?
No, not a nice one at all. No. But yeah, before we wrap up tonight's show, let's just say a massive congratulations as well to our teams that progressed in the FA Trophy over the weekend. We had some really, really good results for this area, and the draw for the next round has taken place as well. two of our teams rather got home ties in Leiston and Needham Market, but Sudbury, Lowestoft, Bury, and Felixstowe have been drawn away from home. Most of the teams that have been drawn out are playing against teams that are of a similar level to them, other than Bury and Felixstowe, who have got teams that are at a higher level.
So Felixstowe got Billericay, which is a tough old game.
Not too far to go though. They could have had worse distances to travel. But yeah, congratulations to the teams that have made it through to the next round. And yeah, we'll keep an eye out on those results fairly. When they happen. I think it's not the second, but I think it's the weekend after in October. But anyway,
I'm terrible at knowing dates of cup games. I always forget and get them.
I saw the draw had taken place, and I had a bit of a look at it. I made a note of the level that teams were kind of playing at, etc. But yeah, looking forward to seeing how all of our teams do. Hopefully, we can get as many games going on as possible. There you go. I knew he'd pop up somewhere at some point in the show. 7th of October, the FA games.
Lovely.
Good to see
you.
He
needs to be responsible for all of our little off-screen admin.
Yeah,
good old Drew. Big game at the weekend. Stowe hosting Bury Town. Local derby.
Yeah.
Muzzy makes his return. I'm sure you're probably still in the chat, mate. got some points to prove. So really, really interesting to see what happens there, and you'll be welcome back warmly, I'm sure.
That's it. So yeah, we are going to wrap things up for tonight's show. First of all, apologies for the fact that we were late. Unfortunately, children decide to be children. Nothing we can do about it. We just have to handle it as it kind of comes in. But yeah, next week there won't be a show just because I'm going away on holiday. We will be back the following week. So it will be the 9th of October will be the next show. We'll put stuff all over our social medias. And then the 16th, you're away, Adam. So we'll then be back on the 23rd. So yeah, basically the first couple of shows, we just want to kind of ease ourselves back into, how the show works, how it kind of operates, trying to get a new way of doing things. We'll be adding bits and pieces as we go through it. So I appreciate these may not be how we did things previously. There might not be as much graphics coming up on the screen, etc. But
it'll be disjointed as hell, but just let us know what you think of it.
Yes, exactly that. We want all of your thoughts and opinions on it, because ultimately we're building this from the ground up again. That's the way you've kind of got to view it. We want to improve on things. So if there are things you want us to add into it, we will look into doing that. But I think both of our lives have dramatically changed since the last time we did this show. I've gone from having one kid to now having 3. My life is very, very busy. I've just started.
I only had sex once in between, which is incredible.
So yeah, like I said, we will get the show back up and running properly soon. As a week break, we'll be back afterwards. So just message both myself and Adam. Just let us know what you thought of the show. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. It's been good being back. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been a few cobwebs to blow off, etc. But we got there in the end. But yeah, really appreciate everyone's time. Thank you very much for tuning in for this evening's show. Good to have so many regular faces back. Adam, anything you want to say before we wrap up tonight's show? Thanks, Fergus, part-timers.
Thanks to everyone for literally still being here where we left you last time.
I like it. That's a great way to end the show. Thank you so much, everyone. Normal stuff when it comes to YouTube. If you can hit the like button, that'd be much appreciated. Whilst we get the YouTube channel back up and running, leave comments on any of the things that we talked about tonight. And just remember, keep an eye out on the social media account at Suffolk NLS for any upcoming thoughts and opinions. Again, we want you to be more involved than ever before. But until next time, as always, thank you very much for tuning in. Adios.
See you later.